I'm Michal Berman. I'm originally from New York. I made Aliyah 9 years ago, and now I live in Tel Aviv.
And I'm Natasha. I am originally from South Africa. I made Aliyah, I think it's been 10 or 11 years, I'm not 100% sure, I think 11. And I live in Herzliya now.
What is the art studio about?
Well, basically, when I made Aliyah, I wanted to keep teaching art, which is what I was doing in South Africa, and I was doing in London before that. And I was at Ulpan, and I started kind of recruiting students at Ulpan just to do like private small groups. And so I did it in my lounge or in my dining room in my tiny flat in Sderot Nordor. And eventually I got enough students to move the space to a bigger space, which was on Ebbing Feral. And it was just a space where people would come and learn technique as well as like really being creative and allowing like a kind of, I think our approach still is like we like to teach, but also like keep this really like creative freedom, like people feel safe enough to express themselves creatively.
I see. And Michal, how did you meet Tasha?
I think I started working with Natasha right before I started my master's degree. I was teaching figure drawing at the old studio, and that's how we met, through the art world, kind of here.
And how did you decide that you will join forces, so to say?
I must say, when I first met Michal, I was like, I'm in love. She was like so easy to talk to, and just like, I don't know, there was like instant click, a connection. And so first it started off with figure drawing, but then Michal went off to Haifa to study a master's, which we studied in the same university, and we did both did our masters in art therapy. And then there came a time where I needed to have someone in the studio. Like, I wasn't able to devote as much time to teaching. I started a family, and I was like, okay, Michal's going to be the perfect person, and she is.
The feeling's mutual. So we have everything and anything from figure drawing classes with a live model to adult classes, which everyone comes, and it's like kind of like an open studio. Everyone comes and creates, and it doesn't matter what level or background you have in art. We have children's classes and teens classes where they can come and express themselves, and it's such a wonderful release. We have paint night, which is a step-by-step guide with wine, which usually helps the process. And we also offer baby classes, baby and me class, which Tash does, and they're the cutest things in the entire world to see them create. And also art therapy in groups and individual.
What motivates you? What keeps you from burning out? Because it's a lot of work.
For me, I guess a lot of what motivates me is like this building relationships with people. It's a really exciting, it's really an exciting space when you're building this amazing relationship with somebody, and also seeing what people are creating, and there's something very kind of like intimate that happens, because there's such a creative, it's almost like an honor to be part of that like creative process that someone's bringing.
I totally agree. I think that's a beautiful answer, because for me it's all about the art. It's amazing taking someone who's never created before and starting from zero, a blank piece of paper or a blank canvas, and seeing what they're creating and being proud of themselves. So that's totally recharging and like re-energizing to see someone who's making something out of nothing.
Are people in Tel Aviv creative, by the way? Like, what's your experience?
So creative. I think that our classes are kind of half Israelis and half internationals and Olim.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been so cool to see how people are balancing back and forth and giving each other ideas and kind of taking it there. I think it's one of the most creative cities I've been to.
How do you inspire people?
I think kind of taking it to their level, seeing what people are interested in, not trying to force any of my ideas or my preconceptions of art, kind of seeing what they want to make, what makes them tick, and kind of taking it to their own world. So well, like if we're doing a paint night and it's Picasso, I totally encourage people to be creative with it. Why don't you add a mohawk? Why don't you add a nose ring onto her? Like, for sure, make it your own.
I think if I can also add to that, I think a lot of people come into a space where there's a lot of like art. Basically people come into a space sometimes where they're not, or a creative space, they don't feel comfortable, like there's a lack of confidence. Maybe they're an art teacher or someone in the family said they can't create, or and there's these like blocks, and it can be a little bit intimidating. So I think to create a safe environment where people feel like it doesn't really matter what you're making, as long as you're making something.
And what is art therapy, for those who don't know?
Good.
Okay. I mean, it's really quite broad, but I'm going to try and narrow it down. Okay, but basically, in a one-on-one session, it's a lot like psychotherapy. There is talking involved, but a lot of trauma that happens to us goes into, sometimes we don't find the words to express how we feel about something specific, and so it's really great to have the artwork there, or to be able to create art to kind of like open up, or to look at our feelings, or to express something where it's difficult to talk about those feelings, if that makes any sense.
So I think, building off that, I think a very important part of art therapy is the actual process. Mm-hmm. When we do art classes, they're a bit different because it's more about the final product and how you want it to look. In art therapy, you really go through the process, and it's not really it doesn't have to be about the end product. It can completely be about the process.
Is it a big responsibility?
Yeah, it is a big responsibility, and in some way, I kind of feel like there's also a safety in making art, because it's we're putting that those difficult issues outside of ourselves, so we have something else to reflect on. And it is a big responsibility. I think when you go into any therapeutic setting, there's a responsibility on the practitioner, and I guess also there's a responsibility on the patient. But we were actually speaking about this morning. It's like we take also a professional responsibility, that we make sure that we have our own supervision, so that we can. I guess that's the ethical way to work. We are supervised, so we're not just, out there on our own doing our own thing.
Yeah, you didn't just grab a pencil and start to walk to people.
No, it's very important to have a network that supports you and is there to help you professionally and understand what's yours and what's the patient's as you go along.
I see. Is it hard not to bring it home once you meet something that is really heavy, or you have an experience that is like sad or something like difficult?
I think it's really important to have supervision. That's where you kind of come and you take all the things that you're going through in the session and you bring it into a professional level where you realize what's your emotion and what's the other person's emotion. That way it doesn't affect your day, because otherwise it can be very heavy and it can be like intense to take it all in by yourself. Another amazing way to kind of react to the session is I also like to make an art piece based off the session. It kind of releases things for me as well. And it's a great way to also for a reminder for me what went down throughout the session, besides that, and writing everything down.
Wow. So journaling, basically. Mm-hmm. And for you?
I think it's important to remember a separate, that whatever your patient is experiencing is their experience, and it can be difficult to have that separation, but I think, like Michal says, it's important to have supervision. And also, I mean, for me, I think what helped me was going through my own therapeutic process, where I was able to discern, what is mine and what is somebody else's.
Who can do art therapy, or who do you recommend it to?
I think I recommend it to all people.
Humans.
If you have a pulse. I think everyone has some sort of issues that they could work through, or just getting to know yourself better is a really wonderful way to do it. And I specifically work more with groups. Natasha works more with individuals as well. And it could be as long as it's a safe setting and it's with a professional art therapist, I think it could be really beneficial for everyone. I've gone through a process and it's really helped me as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have to just
Just not. How do you switch hats between profession and being a mother, being here in the studio?
Mm-hmm.
And Natasha's also a super mom. She's incredible with her kids.
No, I must say, like when my twins, the first year, I mean, I didn't wear two hats. Or a few hats. I was just, so focused on raising kids. But I think for me, like, I guess, I get so much from being a mom. And really, it's really kind of shifted the way I see things, and I guess the way I perceive things, and what's really important for me has shifted. And it's really this kind of new identity as a mom. I don't feel like I leave it at the door when I come in here per se. It's almost like it's part of me, but I try and take I try and take what's going to help me as a mother into this space in a way. So it's like,
so it's an extra skill.
It's an extra skill, I guess, in a way. It's like a deeper understanding, maybe, or a little bit more patience for people, or so I am switching hats in a way, but it's almost it is integrated in some way too. But in some way, it's nice to also like switch the hats in a way of like being in a different environment. Okay, I'm also an art therapist or an art teacher, and I can be a mom, and there's something really dynamic about that.
I see.
She's super inspiring. It's super amazing.
Also, the reason I think I can do that is because I have an amazing support, and Michal is part of that.
Regarding business, like the financial aspect, I don't want to go into numbers or anything, but as a mom, did your approach change? Because I feel like for us who don't have to provide for family, it's okay. You can, cut back on coffee or everything, but
you can't cut back on coffee.
I don't know if something really changed. It became more like, yeah, in a way it did. It's maybe not the way I approached business, but maybe in a way that I approached priorities, I suppose.
Did you go online before COVID or after?
So basically, as you said, COVID came and we were both like, ah!
Yeah.
It was very stressful. We were trying to think of a creative way to kind of put ourselves out there, continue business, be able to support ourselves, and also do something really where we can reach people. So we thought of the kits, which we had for adults, and which was paint night, and for children, which were different activities within the kit that we would deliver to the doorstep. And in terms of that, I think that was really super successful. But we went online right as COVID started, so we started making amazing videos, and I was super self-conscious at first to make them, but I think they turned out great, and it was such a gratifying way to see when people send you pictures of what they're making, to see that they're getting creative in their home, which is so important. I think that we have a wonderful relationship where we're able to say anything to each other and kind of be there for each other. I panic to Natasha on the regular, so we're able to kind of think together creatively. But for sure, in the beginning, I think there was so much uncertainty and no one knew what was going on. So to kind of take a step from not being sure and thinking, okay, well, we can do about it. It takes a really great partner to do that.
Yeah, I think for me, like Michal says, it like in the beginning, it's like there's so much uncertainty, it's like a little bit of panic, and then I was flooded with like what I can't do. We can't do this, we can't do that, we can't do this. And then I was like, okay, if I can't do that, like what can I do? Let's focus on what we can do. And I think that's where the driving was like, okay, we can do this and we can do that. And then like the ideas just started like coming for me. I was like, okay, what can I do? But then also, I had my kids at home to take care of, because obviously they weren't going to school. So it was like trying to organize like the packs, how we're going to get them, and then get them delivered. And thank goodness Michal mostly put everything together, and I was able to go and deliver.
And Natasha also took the initiative to, while she was home with her kids, to every morning post a video of doing something creative with her children and her baby.
Wow.
And it reached tons of people. We got such wonderful feedback, and I think that's incredible.
It gave me so much focus for the day, because like, okay, I know that I told everyone I'm going live between 9 and 10 in the mornings. I had to get dressed and, you know, like wash my face at least or something.
Yeah.
So it like kind of gave me focus, and then also like, you know, I'd make sure, it also gave me focus to like have some organized activity for the children every day. And in the beginning I was very nervous. But then, like Michal says, eventually I was like, okay, I'm just going to be myself, and whatever happens, happens.
When you decide to make a business out of art, what are the voices that are keeping you back, or like they're trying to talk you out of it?
I think for me it was the whole financial issue of saying, how can you actually make money of art? How can you follow your dream and still sustain yourself in Tel Aviv, which is one of the most expensive cities in the world? And that definitely comes from the outside as well. My parents were like, why don't you pursue a different career? But really following your dreams and not being so scared to fail. Like, if you fail, you'll figure it out and you'll continue. I kind of wish that on everyone. I wish that everyone kind of has that courage to try to motivate themselves to do something that's a little bit scary but worth the risk, because for us, it's hopefully paying off, and we're putting our heart and soul into it. And I think that's every small business out there in Tel Aviv and in the world, that if you really put yourself into it and you try, then you're already one step closer to your goal, and you're trying and you're proud of yourself. I think that's really, really huge.
This situation, you know, coming to Israel as an immigrant, I was also put in this space where it's like, I don't know enough Hebrew. I can't go into a regular job. I am comfortable with art, and I'm comfortable with people and making art and teaching people art. And then later became art therapy. So let me fall back on what my strengths are, I suppose, you know. So I think for me that was driving factor. And now I'm just thinking, like, connecting it with COVID, you know, it was almost like, okay, and the same with, like, you know, almost immigrating to Israel, it's like, you can't do all of this, so then I had to focus on what I can do, and the same with COVID, like, you know, focus on what can be done.
What would you recommend for someone who wants to open a business, any type of business?
I think I would recommend doing research, seeing what's in the market, seeing what people are interested in, and also seeing how you can make it unique, how you can take your spin on it, how you can incorporate your personality and your strengths, exactly like Natasha was saying, into the business. I think after you do all of that, go for it. Try it. Utilize the network that you're making within your support group and your friend group, and try to network with other people. We have constant workshops here with other people, especially women, other amazing artists that come in and teach us new things. If it's mosaics or macrame or photography, and we really encourage that. We would love to kind of have a space that brings all of people's strengths in here and celebrates, especially women.
It's true, actually, now that you say that, just to, yeah. we do actually have a lot of women coming to do workshops, yeah.
So you really encourage them.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you keep yourself in the real world as two true artists?
I think there is this like stereotypical mold of like this artist who's
yeah.
like the, you know, the wacky one, or the one that's not really in touch with reality, and but I think that we're both quite grounded individuals.
I put my beret aside.
But how do you stay grounded? Because it's so easy to, maybe not for everyone, but you two have a very successful studio. You make art, and art is kind of the thing that gives you wings and lets you fly away. So how do you stay on the ground and not take these opportunities, so to say?
Really good question. I think it's going back to being humble and being grateful for what you have, and realizing that you don't take it for granted. You're thankful for each person who comes to make art. You're thankful for each part of the studio. You're thankful for every commission that comes your way to make art or you sell a painting, and kind of realizing that it's an incredible journey, and you're like, I'm super grateful that I have these opportunities, but I don't take it for granted for once. Every morning I wake up and I say, thank God.
Great, that's great to hear. And for you?
I love that answer. I suppose like respect. I think that's what I'm just thinking, like respect for oneself and respect for everybody else.